back. Welcome back to Pantry Pull. It has been over 4 years. Wow, I can't even believe it. COVID was at its height. And anyway, so we're rebranding. I have Michael here, and I'm making some, well, I'm making braciole. I have my pot set up for my sauce because after I make the braciole, I'm gonna start my tomato sauce and make my meatballs. And that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna get started because I'm already behind schedule. So I've already tenderized the meat here, old school with a little saran on top of it.
Do you want me to blend up some tomatoes or something?
No, not yet. And now I gotta put some salt. I gotta salt up the, yeah. So this is like a thin cut of like flank steak. I don't know what is traditionally used, but this is what works for me. I try to buy like a smaller piece and then slice it thin and then give it a little whack and we're good. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm making a little olive oil with the garlic, and this is gonna go in the center of the braciole. I'm just gonna lower this because the garlic is really
Yeah, it's
fine.
So it's gonna cook quick.
Yeah, so all right. So now I'm just gonna move it from the heat really quick. And I have some washed parsley here. I'm gonna toss it in. I'm just gonna tear it with my fingers. I'm not gonna chop it or anything. Throw it in.
It already smells good in here.
Yeah.
Already smells good in here. She's
Yeah.
only fried oil and garlic and parsley.
I know. Well, garlic and oil, it's like anything, you know?
Yeah, true.
It just, the smell is really good. It's
Yeah.
very intense. Just for this. And then after
Here.
this is done, what is that? Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna spin this around. This is hot enough where like, yeah, this isn't even enough. See, I can tell by what's in here, it's not gonna be enough for like the pieces, the 4 pieces of meat that I have. And I'm gonna put a little more.
We're also low on olive oil, which is kind of a problem, but we're gonna make it work. Because that's what we do. Try not to slice my finger on this zester.
No, you're not gonna slice your finger. It's not like that. It's really not. Just make sure the flame is low so you don't burn the garlic. Right.
More? Yeah.
Yeah, a little more.
It's like separate pieces. I want a big chunk to fall in.
Fine. Even if it falls in, it's gonna cook in the meat anyway, so it doesn't matter. Alright, let that simmer for a minute. I'm putting so what I do is I take braciole and I put it in the middle of the meat, the beef. You know, I think braciole, traditional braciole is usually pork. I don't eat pork, so this is a beef version.
Beef is superior. Beef is what's for dinner.
Not like I said, I'm not gonna really fry it up because it's gonna go into the meat, and I still want it to be a little bit tender so that it soaks into the steak. So
You want the flavors to blend.
yeah.
You don't want the flavors to just...
I want them all to marry together, but also like seep into the meat. And then see in my grater, I've got a little bit of like garlic in there, so I'm gonna just whip that out. Okay. All right, so this is the part 1. Part 2, I've already put the braciole on my steak over here, so I'm gonna take you guys over there so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've already laid the braciole on. Like I said, I tried to thin out the meat as much as I possibly could. I have my cheese here, I've salted. Sometimes I feel like I don't salt enough, but cooking it in the sauce, it actually absorbs a lot of the tomato, like the sauce flavor. So like I said, and then I've got the cheese in the middle, so I try not to put too much salt on the meat. I've salted both sides, on top of having a piece of braciole in the middle. So I'm just gonna take a little bit. This is less than what like I said, I normally do shallots, but I didn't do it this time. I don't know that it makes that much of a difference. And I don't care for onions, so. I know it's not on the meat, actually, it's on the braciole, but it all comes together in the end. Do this. Let's go ahead, put the cheese. This is Parmesan, grated Parm. Pepper, black pepper, put a little bit in the middle. Like I said, I'll put just a touch of salt on it. I'm gonna get my string. I'm gonna cut up the string, which I forgot to do early, or to prep. You don't really need, I mean, this is butcher's twine that we use for like when, you know, Mike smokes a brisket, or like when I've made a whole chicken in the oven. So you can use really any string that's just like not flammable or doesn't have any chemicals in it that, you know, you shouldn't consume if it, you know, especially since it's going to be wrapped around the steak that's going to sit in the sauce. So this is the part that it's not challenging, but I'll be a little careful. My bracioles are a little thin. I like them this way. Yeah, I like them thin, and I like them smaller because in this house we don't eat a lot of beef. So I don't like them to go to waste, and this way there's nothing left at the end. Everybody eats them all, so if they're smaller. The meatballs, on the other hand, are a different story. Let's see how long this is gonna take me to thread this thing through. There we go. And I don't, like, sometimes I know a lot of people tie both ways. I just do the one way, because whatever comes out just goes right into the bottom of the pan. That's the first thing I put in, is the braciole. This isn't really time consuming. I mean, if you get a good thin piece of meat and you are able to, you know, sort of not have to take much time to like clean it, and then also, whatchamacallit, pound it out to make it thinner. I mean, this is maybe 15, 20 minutes at best. And that includes like getting all your stuff out and prepping. I'm just taking what was left. There's only a tad bit left, but I don't like to waste. So, you know, I was raised by parents who were raised by parents from the Depression era, so nothing ever goes to waste. Thank you. And now I'm gonna put the flame on, and I'm gonna start garlic, and then I'm gonna drop the braciole on. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the garlic earlier, except I'm not as precise this time around. I just kind of like, if a chunk falls in, meaning that, you know. Yes, and my hands are clean. I did put it in the oil. So I'm just grating up the garlic. I'm gonna chop some up too, and I'm gonna put it in. I do it. Everybody's scared by my tactic because I just do it right in my hand as I'll show you in a minute. Actually, I'm just gonna chunk this up. Go like that. Do a little bit. There you go. This is my...
Look at the method.
I know, it's terrible. Everybody's like, why do you do that? That's... this is how my mom did it, and this is just how I think... I don't... Okay, see, the oil's getting hot, so I gotta... And, you know, I grew up in a food business, so like, meaning that my parents owned a food business. So I was working a slicer at the age of 9 and running heavy machinery to package items. also using knives that were like triple the size, so I don't know. It's just my comfort zone. Okay, the oil's hot, so normally, like most people will say, like if you wet your finger, do a little like splash into the oil. That's how you know the oil's hot, but we hear it. I can hear it and I can smell it. So before the oil actually starts to burn the garlic, I'm gonna put my braciole in. Oh, wait, it's probably, I gotta put it up just a tad. It's a gentle sort of place to be because the oil's not hot enough where I put it in that the braciole started to like immediately cook. So just gonna move the garlic and oil around a little bit. Put the braciole in. Yeah, there you go. You hear that? Okay. Then what I'm gonna do, it's only a little bit of stuff, a little cheese, like whatever's left over, I just pop in. Don't really do anything. I'm gonna sear this on both sides, just brown it really quick, and then I'm gonna, next step will be to add tomato paste. Braciole is browning on the bottom. I had it up a little too high. I had to lower it. The other thing is that as I'm cooking, I'm always trying to like clean up my space because I can't stand like at the end when there's way too much stuff to be cleaned up. So I lowered it just a tad so I could wipe the counter. But I'm flipping the braciole because it's brown. And I want to continue to spread the garlic. What I like to do is as the garlic cooks in the oil and it softens, I like to just sort of break it up. So maybe a couple more minutes on each side. I have it low, but I'm just gonna have to cover it, just half cover it. So the braciole's nicely browned pretty much. I try not to overcook it because I want it to cook in the sauce. So I've got my tomato paste here. So what I'm gonna do, I have one little brown piece of garlic. So what I'm gonna do is I'm putting the tomato paste in the middle and I try to marry up the garlic that's been frying on the bottom into the tomato paste before I sort of spread it on the bottom. I'm going to push the bracioles to like the exterior part so that they're, all right. And let that sit for a minute while I get my tomatoes blended. You don't want this to sit in the middle. See, the oil's changing color now. It's getting like a little absorbing the tomato paste. And I want the tomato paste to sort of start to dissolve, which is what happens, it breaks down in the oil as the braciole continues to cook before I add my my tomatoes. So my stove, over the years, I've been able to master sort of like exactly what the flame should look like. It's kind of like when I cook, you know, people will ask me like, how do you know it's ready? Or I can tell almost by the smell that comes out of my oven or off of my stove if food is done, if something is like cooked to the way that I know everybody prefers it. So
What she's trying to say is it's a feel thing.
yeah, I mean it is. Cooking is definitely something that you can't, I mean, it's taken me years.
Now that goes with everything. You do it long enough, it just kind of becomes a feel thing. A feeling, like you've got a feeling, you've got some type of sense.
I mean, it's, you really do have to cook with your senses. You have to be able to see and know, and like see right now I know that I'm talking too much and I have to get my tomatoes blended. I will say the best investment I ever made was this blender. For years I had like a really crappy blender.
She had the Boomer blender.
Yeah, well, I had a really good blender, and then somebody broke it, and then I just had one that when we moved here, we lived in the apartment, and it was like, from the grocery store, it was like 10 bucks. For years I used that thing to make all different sorts of crap. Fresh pepper, damn salt. There we go. Looks like a lot, but it's really not. I'm like salt up to. Alright. I'm gonna put in a little bit more of the Italian parsley that I had on top. I'm gonna put in some fresh basil from my mother's garden. I can't grow anything. My mom has a green thumb. Put it right on top there. Some more. All right. Then some Parmesan Reggiano rinds right in the back there. Let's soak all that goodness in. Start just a tad. Consistency looks good of the sauce. Put a little bit of the cheese in there just to give it a little touch. A little bit more. And I'm gonna take a clove of garlic. I'm gonna drop it in. And cut the end off. Oop, shoot. Drop in the wine. You're good. So it's been about 45 minutes, I want to say, and the sauce has like sort of it's whatchamacallit, simmered down a little bit, and the consistency has shifted now that it's been cooking for about 45 minutes. So now I'm going to make my meatballs. Everybody has their own science to their meatballs. I actually put the raw meat in the sauce and then I cook everything. I know not everybody likes that. That's just the way I do it. So I'm gonna go do the meatballs now. Okay, so I have my turkey meat here. I know traditionally it's veal, pork, and beef for meatballs, but first of all, you can't find that anywhere here in North Carolina. Second of all, I haven't. Yeah, well, I'm sure you can find it by you. I do not eat veal. I don't eat pork. I don't really eat beef. So I moved to turkey meat a long, long time ago, and that's just what I make for my family. You can do what you want. This is about 42 ounces of meat in here, chopped meat. Chopped
I will
turkey
say,
meat.
turkey meat is a sensational alternative for meatballs.
I think it works for whatever. So I've got. Sometimes I use heavy cream, but I don't have any, so I'm using milk. I've got my breadcrumbs here. I put a little bit of Italian parsley on top, fresh Italian parsley. This is cheese. This is a meatball seasoning blend. It's like salt, pepper, a little oregano, and a few other things mixed in. This is fresh mozz, which I'll dump in at the end. I have an egg. I have salt here just in case for extra, because I've got a little salt here. And then I've got locatelli over here. So I'm gonna go ahead, start mixing up, and then you'll see the end result when I show you in a few seconds. So what I do is I don't pour everything in at once. I sort of add and then continue to add until I see the consistency that I like. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that little frying pan that I have on my stove that I use to fry the garlic and the parsley in earlier for the braciole, and once I get this to the consistency, I'll fry up a small little piece of meat just to taste it and make sure that it tastes, you know, good, it's seasoned well enough, and then I'll form the meatballs and drop them into the sauce.
Not eating any more bread, damn it.
I just made Michael was taste testing the sauce. Vin, come taste test the sauce. I'm frying up little pieces of meat here. I'm just frying them up, little pieces, to see how it tastes, so that I can figure out if I've got enough seasoning in there.
Use this one?
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead. We gotta hustle because the sauce is reducing and.
Oh, I got on my finger.
Yes, that hurts.
Here, Vince, this can be yours.
Go for it, Vin. What do you think? Good? Yeah, thanks. Drop it on the floor. It is.
Oh, jeez.
It's all right.
Bread in the sauce, sauce in the bread.
I mean, yes, you're
Bread in the
tainting
sauce,
you're
sauce in
tainting
the
my
bread.
sauce, but you know what? There you go. It's just because it takes forever, that's why.
Look.
That's why.
Look at the fridge, Mom. Come here.
Nice.
This is like perfect.
Yes, that is perfection.
Okay, so as you guys can sort of see, she's cooking meatballs in the pan beforehand, even though she said like prior to, she usually just forms them and throws them right into the sauce.
I know. You know what?
We're doing a little bit of a test.
Yeah, you guys are like my test group, and I'm using my hands, so there you go.
I will admit, she broke up small pieces and fried them real quick for us to try, and they tasted really good.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of encouraged us to do it like this.
Yeah. I'm gonna brown them on each side, and then once they're brown on each side, I'm gonna put them in the sauce. The other thing is, if you're gonna fry, don't crowd the plate. Like, don't crowd the frying pan. The water helps.
Helps what?
The water helps the meat not stick to your hands. So, like, you know, if you're gonna pick up the meat and try to form a decent meatball, it's easier.
That looks and smells very good. That does not look very appetizing, but
Just make them a little smaller this time around, because everybody takes like 5 meatballs. So if they're a little bit smaller.
they're gonna be gone quicker.
So my mom would fry up the meatballs, and she used to put huge pieces of garlic in the meatballs. But it was, but when she would literally fry it in like a full pan of olive oil. And they were so crispy on the outside and juicy in the middle. And I think that's why I started cooking mine in the sauce, because I could never fry them to where she would, to the complexity, like over the years. I have never, and I'm crowding the pan after I told you guys not to. But I could never get my meatballs to that point ever. Like where they were so crispy, evenly crispy on the outside. And then like the garlic that she would put in there would just, it would already have like been, like, it wasn't even, it was melty almost. I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, definitely not something that I was able to master, but you know, she also can't make lasagna and I can. So here's my story about SummerSlam. When I was a kid, I grew up in New Jersey, and my brother and I were obsessed with wrestling. And in the summertime, my parents owned a business, so when we weren't in camp or when we were out of school, we always went to the business, to the warehouse. And SummerSlam was on a night where we were out of school. It was at the end of August, and I remember that there was no phone, nothing. So my brother and I made signs on cardboard boxes for every match, and like wrote like Macho Man versus Hulk Hogan, like woo, yay. We hung them up when we got home, and SummerSlam came on, and we had a blackout, and we missed all of SummerSlam. We had a blackout for about 3.5 hours.
All that effort for nothing.
All that effort, yeah. But I remember my Uncle Don and Roseanne were over. Pop came home and said, I'm going to go take a shower. And never came back down. And the joke was that they were drinking beers in the bottle so that we could put candles in them, because we needed light in the house because there was no light, no nothing. All the street lights were out. Everything was out. It was an old school blackout. But anyway. So whenever I think of SummerSlam, I think of that year. Because I can still remember being so excited to get home and like show Uncle Don and Roseanne like the signs we made. And we hung like a sign on the door that said, nobody, like, I forgot, what did it say? Something like, if you're not Don or Roseanne, turn around and leave. It was like, it was Uncle Rary's idea. Last sort of round. I'm going to see what I can get in the pan, and then the rest I'm just going to drop right in. There's not a lot of meat here. And we'll be done. And then the sauce is going to cook for about another hour and change. Get nice and thick. Make a little pasta. I'm going to prep my escarole, which will be another, I don't think we'll put that in this video, but we'll make escarole and beans. Famous Italian side. That's it. That's all she wrote. Thank you. End result.
We got a bowl of pasta with cut of a meatball. Taste test. End result. Finished product.
How's it tasting? Just the meatball? Oh, you got braciole in there too.
I do have a piece of braciole. I'll take a bite. It looks really hot.
Yes.
Delish.